What's up, folks? It is Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to give you my thoughts finally on the Logan film. I haven't had a chance to review it on my channel yet, and I just watched it again because it's a freaking awesome film. And I wanted to give my full review on it, and ultimately what's most important to me is like placing it within the context of the other X-Men films. Like, where does it fall? Like, what does it mean as far as like the story, the characters, like who's where, like what does it all mean? Like, the movie itself is great, everything about it is fantastic, but like, even though Fox apparently does not care about continuity, I care about continuity, so I want there to be some continuity. So in my mind, I've sort of made up a continuity for the entire series, which I'll go over at the end of this video. Anyway, so first of all, I just want to say I just got the, I got this when it was released, the Logan. This is the Best Buy Steelbook that you can get in the US. You could have gotten in the US when it was released. For those of you that like Steelbooks, like, it's a good idea, like a few months before a film is released, maybe like 2 months after it's released in the theater, start checking Best Buy, seeing if they have like the Steelbook exclusives, and then jump on it as a pre-order, and then they'll mail it to you. So you don't have to worry about you going to the store and trying to find it and all this stuff. If you want a particular Steelbook, that's what you do. That's what I've been doing. Managed to get this one. Art by Bill McNiven, who is a freaking awesome artist. He actually is the one that drew the original Old Man Logan series that happened, I think, in Wolverine Volume 2 or 3. I think it was 3. Wolverine Volume 3, and it was like kind of like this alternate reality future storyline. I think it was drawn by Mark Silvestri. No, I'm sorry. Not drawn by, obviously, drawn by Bill McNiven. I'm thinking of a different storyline. Anyway, fantastic. I think it was 3 or 4 issues. Anyway, great storyline. Anyway, he drew it. Obviously, that inspired the film. It wasn't directly related to the film. It sort of inspired it. Like, oh, let's get Wolverine a little bit older, and you know that'll kind of put him in a completely different situation than he's been in prior, as far as like what fans and audiences are aware of with respect to the character, and let's have like some weird fucking backstory and like, you know, just some really crazy fucked up shit happened to him, essentially, which is what happened in this movie. This is a really fucking great movie. Extremely well directed, extremely well acted. It's lovely to see Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman go out together, like in such a classy way. You know, it's like they've both been working on this franchise for like, you know, what, 2000, so like maybe 18, 19 years if you factor in pre-production and all that stuff before the film was released. So it's a really great sort of send-off to the actors playing the characters. It really honors them well. It's really an interesting sort of story itself. Definitely different than the comic book, so very surprising ultimately. The fact that X-23 was introduced is probably my favorite thing. Like, I have wanted X-23 to be introduced, but it's always been sort of a concern because you just never know what they're going to do with the character. And also, the character's relatively new. For those of you that don't know, there was a cartoon in the 90s, right? X-Men the Animated Series. And then that pretty much led to the movies being made, in my mind. I'm pretty sure that's the case, though. And in 2000. And then right after that, there was another cartoon that was made. It was called X-Men Evolution. It sort of tried to tell the story of the X-Men in the same way that the films did, where like some characters were younger than you expect them to be, and you know, it was okay. Like, the first season was kind of slow, like a lot of like the kids at the school. Let's make it like a really kid centric show, and then they realized, well, no, we need to actually tell X-Men stories. So then the subsequent seasons got more and more interesting. Like the third and fourth are pretty damn good. The fourth especially. There's the introduction of Apocalypse. They do a really good job of kind of stretching out the Apocalypse story in the most intriguing and unique way that I've seen. Comics, prior cartoons, film, definitely. So, really good stuff there. Anyway, in that series, X-23 was introduced for the first time. She had not been introduced in comics prior to that. And so that story kind of played out in the cartoon, and you know, people were like, okay, cool, I guess we'll kind of buy that there's like a clone of Wolverine. It's a little girl, and she's got 2 claws in her hands and 1 claw in her foot. Okay, we'll kind of buy it. By the way, I've got a statue back here of Laura. I can't grab it right now because I might drop it, but she's back there, Laura, in her X-Force uniform. Anyway, Laura Linney? I forget. Actually, I don't actually know her last name. Anyway. Alright, so, introducing the cartoon, later introducing the comics. The story was played out in the comic book version, right? Like within the context of the comic book world, the MC, the Marvel reality, Earth 666 something. 668, I think. I don't know. Anyway, there's like different realities, and like there's the central one, which is Earth 616, I think. 616, I think, is what it is. Anyway, became a character that people kind of liked, and then eventually, you know, she kind of grew into being a more prominent character, and then now she's actually taken on the mantle of Wolverine. Wolverine has died in the comic books, and now she has become the Wolverine of the comic book world, which is cool. You know, I'm down with it. It's fun. I'll take it, you know. Because we do have an old man Logan. So like I said, like that original storyline took place in this alternate reality. Well, there was this universe-shaking event called Secret Wars, which is actually Secret Wars 3, that occurred about a year ago in Marvel Comics. And in that storyline, kind of all the realities kind of folded into each other, and like things overlapped and things got intermingled, and old man Logan from this alternate reality got brought into the regular continuity of Marvel proper, Earth 616, and so now he is the Wolverine of like the X-Men core group, but he's not called Wolverine, he's called like Logan. And in the and he's got and therefore the mantle of Wolverine has been given to Laura. So X-23 is now Wolverine. She has a very similar costume to what I'm wearing right now. By the way, I'm wearing like a Wolverine onesie that I bought. I didn't want to zip it up all the way because it's a little bit hot, and it's a hot night, and I'm going to start sweating if I get all snuggled up in it. Anyway, I thought it would be a proper sort of attire for the review, because, you know, gotta stretch out the theme as much as possible in these things. Anyway, yeah, so she's the Wolverine now. It's really cool. And so it was really cool that they finally introduced her in the film, and the fact that they did such an excellent job. I mean, it's like exceptionally well done. Like, now, not only will fans of the X-Men, but like general audiences will accept that there is this other sort of offspring of Wolverine, and she can now become like, you know, basically the Wolverine of the cinematic universe. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Even if this current series kind of ends at some point or whatever, maybe they do an actual complete reboot, she'll be a prominent character right away in whatever new continuity they set up. And I'll talk more about that as I get to the end of the video, as far as like continuity, like what characters lie in what timelines, etc. Alright, so excellently well executed. Definitely, like, the gore, the blood, like, that really did enhance it quite a bit. It gave it more of that gravitas, that sort of intensity that you want from a Wolverine story. You know, if Wolverine's by himself and his main characteristics is that he's like kind of like this animal that's always sort of trying to be tamed, but like sometimes the animal comes out, then that needs to be, you know, explored in a very explicit way, and it has finally in this film, and it really, I think, captured the essence of the character the most of any prior film. So that was great. The whole thing with him and his doppelganger, his clone, him versus the young Wolverine, that stuff was fucking incredible, man. Like, those sequences were, it's so good, and metaphorically speaking as well. Like, if you think about it, like the young Hugh Jackman battling the old Hugh Jackman, the young one trying to win, saying, no, I want you to continue being Wolverine, but the old one being like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking die at some point. But the old man, you know, asserting himself and finally kind of dominating the young Wolverine, killing him, you know? Basically, like, I don't care how fucking tough you are, like, the experience that I have on top of, like, you know, my heightened senses and strength and all this stuff, like, that trumps, like, your youth, you know? And so, like, what I'm doing now matters, but still I must put this to rest. Like, I know what I'm doing, essentially. Like, I'm a wise old man, not old, but like relatively old, relative to the young Wolverine. Like, I'm a wise man, a wise person that's older, an older age, and I'm choosing to gracefully step away at the right time, you know, and that's why I kind of thought that was kind of like really poetic. I don't know if that's been touched upon anywhere. I don't think it has. I haven't heard anything discussed in that way with respect to that, but I think that's important. It's like kind of like this visual metaphor, visual allegory for, like, you know, fucking Hugh Jackman's sort of the struggle that he faces as an actor, you know, with, you know, having this role define his career. Really, it is what started like the mainstream Hollywood career stuff. Him playing Wolverine. Anyway, yeah, so like that whole aspect of it was really cool, but like really all of it, like the whole Laura stuff, the way that it was directed, like the cinematography, the acting, all the stuff in the middle with the farm family, and the killing of that family is so heartbreaking. And then of course the killing of fucking Xavier, which was I guess it was a much more satisfying ending to Xavier than we got in X3. I'll talk about that in a bit. And then all that stuff in the end with the kids and like the various powers being exhibited, and how really it didn't need to be like this ginormous spectacle for there to be like a lot of like dramatic weight to it and like it just be captivating. Like that really says a lot, and hopefully it sends a message to the filmmakers, you know, those that are like that lean towards like the Transformer execution type of thing, where it's like, let's throw a bunch of money into a bunch of CGI action sequences that look really good, and that should captivate audiences enough. You know, not that, like, actually tell good stories. Like, if you tell good stories, people will love them, and that's it. Like, you don't need to just, like, I need the biggest budget ever, and you need to see 1,000 explosions. Like, it doesn't need to work. Like, it has to be within the context of a story. We have to feel it. We have to want to have things not happen, to care when bad things happen, you know? Anyway, so it's a great film. I've yet to watch the noir version, but fortunately this one did come with a noir, Logan noir, so I'm going to do, I'll do that this week. I'll do the black and white. Got, what do we have, like a 50-inch upstairs. That's a good, it's a good dimension to watch it and kind of get a good kind of cinematic effect. Yeah, so I'll watch I recommend it. I think I saw a little bit of it. It looked pretty cool, so I'm sure it'll be excellent. I'll do that on some point soon. Anyway, now for what you've all been waiting for. I don't know if you've been waiting for it, but how does this film fit into the continuity of the X-Men franchise? Well, the producers of Fox have not made this very easy for fans to kind of know where we're going. We have the original films, we have the Wolverine films, we have the new trilogy that came out, there are prequels, and we've got Deadpool. So how does this all work? Well, let's talk about it. Alright, so here's X-Men First Class. Really fun film. Love the whole Hellfire Club stuff, but even though I would have preferred the Hellfire Club to be have been done in the right way, you know, but it was good. It was good. This is a good food. This is a good movie. I really like this movie. The Magneto stuff is fantastic, and the Magneto theme is legendary. Hashtag legendary Magneto theme. Great film. So I figured this is the starting point of the saga, because as we know in Days of Future Past, that changes the timeline, but that doesn't happen until later. And so, therefore, this presumably is the the past of also the original X-Men series with the original timeline. So this would start the entire series. So this is my number one. Obviously, from there, we go to the OG first X-Men movie. Still a good movie, you know, sets things up pretty cool. Lots of really great elements introduced, but you know, it's an origin tale, and like, it's pretty by the book as far as like the way the story goes. But then again, back then when this movie came out, it was one of the first to do what it did, and so really, it's not it was kind of writing the book at the time, right? So you know, it's a good film, but obviously things got super fucking awesome when X2 came out. X2 was fucking a masterpiece, right? Like it was like Bryan Singer's chance to play within the world that he had developed. Like the world that he had developed was successful, people liked it, it worked, and now it's like, let's play. And he played the fuck out of this place, and it was awesome. It was fucking great. I love this fucking movie. I don't know how many times I fucking watched it, and I still will throw it on any time because it's so fucking good. Anyway. Therefore, this is the third film in the series. Then, of course, we have the unfortunate situation of having to deal with The Last Stand. So The Last Stand, as we all know, and you may or may not know, is a result of Bryan Singer leaving the franchise after the second film. Why? Because he was enticed to direct Superman Lives, I think it was the name of it. Superman Returns. No, Superman Returns. Which was presumably the third film in the Richard Donner series. He ignored Superman 3, and he basically wanted a continuation of Superman 1 and 2. Kind of worked, kind of didn't. I enjoyed that film, but nonetheless, like, he left fucking X-Men to do that. And what happened? Well, Matthew Vaughn, who ultimately wound up directing X-Men First Class, was brought on to direct X-Men 3, but there were some issues, I believe, either in the scheduling, or maybe he didn't like what the studio was wanting him to do, so he actually fucking walked away from it. I think weeks before production started. So what happened? They hired fucking Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner is the guy that he did with Jackie Chang. What was those? I don't know. He did a bunch of fucking stupid movies. He made one movie that I kind of like, which is Red Dragon, which is the prequel to Silence of the Lambs, the first prequel to Silence of the Lambs, which was actually pretty fucking cool. I thought it was a better... Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. He directed that. That was the only thing I kind of liked, but the other stuff he's done... This movie is horrendous. Like, I mean, you simply have to consider the scene in San Francisco when the bridge is used to connect Alcatraz and the mainland, so Magneto can take his forces across to the Alcatraz laboratory where they're developing the cure drug. Anyway, you have only to look at the fact that, like, the battle on the bridge is happening during the day, but then the battle on Alcatraz happens at night. And we are supposed to believe that they take a few steps and it goes from day to night. My buddy actually was on that film, and he remembers them talking about the fact that was happening, and like how people kept kind of mentioning it and nobody would really do anything about it. The people in charge, they just didn't really fucking care. Just an example. We know that Cyclops was killed off camera. One of the most, probably Jean, Scott, and Wolverine are like the three most important X-Men characters, and they just killed him off camera. Fuck you, X-Men First Class, X-Men The Last Stand, fucking fuck you, Brett Ratner, fuck you. You kill Xavier, like I'm just gonna kill Xavier too. What? You're gonna have the Dark Phoenix storyline in the background of some fucking other story, The Cure? What the fuck are you doing? What is going on here? Bryan Singer set up a fucking third movie that was gonna be the Dark Phoenix. We saw the Firebird underwater at the end of X2. That fucking boded incredibly well for like what was to come, and we didn't get it. We got shit. Anyway, that movie was horrendous, but there's some sequences in it that are watchable. Even though I hate that Xavier died, I love that whole sequence in the house and the battle with the Juggernaut and all this shit. It's great. It's really well done. Magneto, like his best scene ever. Besides, actually, no, this is the second best scene. The best scene is him in X2 when he escapes, when he pulls out the iron from that dude's blood, and then he creates those balls, and then he just destroys that place. God, that scene is just so fucking legendary. Anyway, the scene in X-Men The Last Stand when he breaks Mystique out of that truck, that whole truck sequence, when he's like just like tossing cars aside, like that was fucking dope. So some sequences are good. Some sequences, i.e., do you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! Yeah, that line. When fucking Kitty Pryde, like, and the Juggernaut are going up against each other, and the Juggernaut says that to Kitty Pryde. No. Brett Ratner, I will not allow it. I will not allow it. Anyway, this would be the third film to watch, and you kind of need to watch it, because that's the only way you're really going to enjoy The Wolverine. Because The Wolverine, even though it was made years later, is presumably the next chapter right after X3. We finally get, like, a resolution to the story of Wolverine, at least. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention fucking them taking Rogue's power away. Oh, God. That's not even... What they did with Rogue in that movie just kind of sidelined her. Fuck you, Brett Ratner. Fuck you. Anyway, next film. This movie, fortunately, is good. It's not great, but it's good. And it kind of softens the blow of X-Men The Last Stand. Because if you watch it right afterwards, it's like, okay, now we get to see Logan kind of processing what actually happened and fucking seeing, you know, like what he's going through and how that leads to the things that happen in this film. At the end of this film, post-credit sequence, we see Xavier and Magneto. So Xavier is alive again, right? Magneto's alive. This is the old continuity before anything changed. Alright, so that happens. Now, it is my deep belief that the next chapter in the original saga is Logan. We saw Xavier's back alive at the end of The Wolverine. Now, the whole reason why I want this to be the next chapter in the old timeline is because we know that in this movie that it is implied that the X-Men were killed by Xavier. And as you know, at the end of Days of Future Past, when the world was rebooted, because Wolverine changed the past, Jean, Scott, Xavier, everybody was alive back in the present day. So everything that happened in X-Men The Last Stand was erased. If this were to come after X-Men Days of Future Past, that means that doesn't matter, and everything goes to shit no matter, regardless, and it's all fucking bleak and sad. I don't want that. I want the fucking happy ending from X-Men Days of Future Past. Therefore, this movie takes place after The Wolverine in the old continuity. That's when it takes place. In my mind, that's what fucking happened. And then, even though that's happening in the old timeline, like there was a splintering off point, a point where the Sentinel stuff happened, right? So So this is an alternate reality to the old time. I don't know, I'm trying to fucking rationalize it because I don't want that to be in the new time continuity, and I hate that Fox didn't give a fuck about this issue. This is my biggest problem with the film, even though it's not a problem with the film itself. It's just a problem with the choices that are made at the producer level, really. And I kind of blame Simon Kinberg partly for that, which is why I'm not a big fan. I'll do a separate video of what's going on with the Dark Phoenix movie. Anyway, and I'm going to say that movie takes place then, and then we're going to have X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, and then Deadpool, which I feel is like the present day of that continuity, the new continuity, the rebooted continuity. So yeah, that's how I'm going to view it, because I really don't want, again, like a bleak ending beyond what we saw at the end of X-Men Days of Future Past, because that was such an awesome ending. Like that really brought tears to my eyes, and I'm sure it did to a lot of fans of the series, because we finally got like things put back the way they should have been, not, you know, just everything being destroyed after X-Men The Last Stand, and like making the old trilogy kind of like really bad, like just really bad to watch, because you know that it's going to a shitty place. But now this changed that. Now if this changed that to something good, I don't want this to change to something bad. Anyway, this video's gone on way too long, but I had to put down my thoughts. If you watched it, congratulations. Anyway, thanks for checking out my content. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, you can subscribe down there. And as always, I would say that if you haven't already, you should put an X in that box, people, because ain't nobody checking me, folks. Bye-bye.